Coming up on First at 4, one person is dead after a coal plant collapsed last night in Martin County. We'll have a live report from the scene. And the Kentucky Department of Education releases its annual Kentucky School Report Card. What that report card could reveal about your students' schools.
Plus, we go back below freezing tonight, but some warmer weather is on the way. Those details coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hunsley. First at 4, at least one person is dead following the collapse of a coal prep building in Martin County last night. Officials with the sheriff's office confirmed the death this morning. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox is live in Martin County near the scene with the latest. Chandler?
Thanks, Steve. First responders are still working through the rubble. Officials say that two men were trapped. As Steve mentioned, one person is confirmed dead, but they are unsure about the other. They have not gotten to either person yet. Judge Executive Lon Lafferty says the scene is devastating.
I remember being in New York after 9/11, and those images that you see there, it's kind of what you see up the hollow here. Very large structure that has collapsed in on itself, probably, I would say, I think it was, heard the number of 130 feet high.
We'll, of course, have an update as we learn more. We are told that officials are going to have an update for us later this evening. They've actually been going in and out of this road right behind me. Steve, as I said, we will continue to try to learn as much as we can, and but for right now, we'll go back to you.
All right, Chandler, thank you. We should mention we are not being allowed near the scene of that collapse, so we don't have any video of what it looks like. Of course, as Chandler mentioned, there have been people going in and out of that area all day. We understand dogs are involved in the search effort, but at last check, they had not found that second person. Again, out of the two people that were trapped, one is confirmed dead. They haven't found the second person yet. County officials also made a point to thank the many first responders that have and continued to help. You may have seen a news conference a couple of hours ago that we carried live here on WYMT. And again, stay with WYMT for the latest. We'll continue to update this story as we learn more.
We are tracking some more frigid weather across the mountains for the middle of this week, but some improvements are on the way as some more warmer weather also moves back into the mountains for the second half of this work week. Right now, though, here's a live look from UVA-wise. We are sunny and dry, but cold. That current temperature 36 degrees over in Southwest Virginia right now, and most of us in the middle 40s at this hour, up to 45 in Jackson, also London, 46 in Manchester, 43 over in Pikeville. So once again, we are well below average on this Wednesday afternoon to kick off the month of November. But the big story for the rest of this week, this area of high pressure that is parked over Arkansas. So once again, we are watching out for a stretch of dry, also mild weather to continue for the rest of this week, also into this weekend. And after some 20s this morning and more 20s later on tonight, some 60s are on the way for Friday, also into this weekend, and we are watching out for that next cold front by early parts of next week. So more rain chances on the way for Election Day of next week. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. The Kentucky Department of Education has released its annual Kentucky School Report Card for the 2022-23 academic year. The assessment shows room for improvement is needed in reading and writing. KDE says four-year graduation rates trended slightly higher in 2023 than previous years. Now, all data is available in a color-coded format on the State Report Card website. That is kystatereportcard.com. Several Eastern Kentucky schools were among the top 10 elementary and middle schools in the state, and we'll have more about that later tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris is visiting Britain to discuss the Israel-Hamas conflict with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. They are also expected to talk about next steps in the United States' support for Ukraine. Harris is also scheduled to attend a summit and deliver a speech on artificial intelligence. Hundreds of dual passport holders and dozens of seriously injured Palestinians were allowed to leave Gaza today by way of the Rafah crossing. This after more than 3 weeks under siege, while Israeli airstrikes destroyed apartments in a densely populated area for the second straight day. More than half of Gaza's 2.3 million Palestinians have left their homes. Meanwhile, U.S. senators are deeply divided over tying aid for Ukraine to Israel funding. Senator Mitch McConnell delivered comments on the floor of the Senate today. He says history has shown that the costs of disengaging from the world are far higher than the costs of engaging. He adds, even as a global superpower, the United States needs its allies and should not face down its adversaries on our own.
We have the means to lead the free world and assure our own security. In the face of coordinated aggression from our adversaries, we have the clearest possible objective. We win, they lose.
Senator McConnell has argued that the wars in Israel and Ukraine are central to U.S. security and must be tied together. Some Republican senators believe the two should be separated. Coming up on First at 4, another wildfire burns in Hawaii. How officials say this time things are a lot different.
And high pressure is the big story for the rest of this week. Your forecast on the way after this break.